Hello?
Hello, Cynthia.
Yes.
Cynthia, this is Felipe. I was hoping to ask you a real quick question. Then you can decide if we need to talk. Is that fair?
The only thing I would do here, Felipe, and after listening to some of the calls, is if we're going to use that opener, which I absolutely love, let's just identify yourself as a real estate agent, right? So, hey, this is Felipe. I'm a realtor. Listen, before you hang up, I was hoping to ask you a real quick question. Would that be okay? So, small thing, but let's incorporate that as well.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, I was calling on Ridgeview Drive in Laguna Niguel. Wondering if you don't still.
Uh-huh.
Did you sell that or off market? I mean, I saw that it came off the market. Just wondering what happened with it.
No, we just pulled it off the market.
Oh, okay. So that's what I saw. So you didn't sell it off the market or nothing weird happened. Okay, fair enough. And I guess question for you. I mean, it's a great property. Was surprised that it didn't sell. What kind of feedback did you get?
All right. So, before you ask that question, with an expired or a withdrawn or a canceled listing, the first question we want to ask, all right, so to interrupt the pattern, to get the person's resistance to come lower, is not directly, hey, what happened or why didn't it sell? Because it's a very risky question to ask first, because you can put the person potentially on the defensive too soon in the phone call. So, what we want to ask instead is, hey, I don't know where you stand. I was just curious, are you totally against reviewing offers if you found that they financially still made sense? And you can invert that either way. So you can ask a yes-oriented question. Hey, are you still open to the idea of reviewing an offer if it made sense? Or are you totally against reviewing an offer if it made sense? So that's really the first question we want to ask an expired, because at this moment, as you know, in their emotional journey of selling the property, they've kind of lost hope. So when we ask that question, it kind of brings that emotional state back to say, wow, does this mean I can sell my house? Does this mean I can move? Does this mean I can get closer to my kids? Does this mean I can get closer to my desired outcome? So that's the first question we want to ask.
Um, well, let me just cut to the chase.
You see, she just says, because we put her in some resistance, she said, well, let me just cut to the chase. So I just want you to try that moving forward.
Here,
Sure.
we are going to relist this or rent it after the first of the year. We just didn't want to deal with it during the holidays. And when we do relist it, we will relist it with the same agent.
Okay, fair enough. That totally makes sense
I
to
mean,
me.
if you have a buyer, she has a key and permission to show the house, but we're not going to relist it with a different agent. So,
Okay, fair enough. So it sounds like you have a great relationship with the agent. And knowing that you do have that, I guess just wondering if you're totally opposed to learning about other methods that are getting property sold here in November of this year.
Okay, so you're kind of grasping for like, okay, what can I say here? She gave me the objection, hey, when I relist it, I'm going to relist it. So we know we have a real seller. You're like, okay, what do I say? She gave me the objection, I'm going to relist it with the other agent. Where I would have liked to see you go right here is the whole approach around a second opinion. I like how you don't bash that other agent, which I see a lot of people doing. We now know there's no pain associated with this prospect and their previous agent. So we're not going to go down that path. The path we're going to go down is the second opinion path. So the response to that objection is, that makes sense. And I certainly can appreciate that relationship. My question for you is this. I don't know if this would be of any value to you or not, but I'd be happy to maybe give you a second opinion on what might cause the property to sell. Even though you're planning on relisting with the same agent, maybe having a second set of eyes from a different agent might be valuable to you. You might find some value in that. Are you totally against that idea? right? And trying to go down that path, because I feel like the approach we took here is sort of beating around the bush, because she said, I'm relisting with the same agent. And then you took the approach of talking about looking at some other options to get the property sold during the holiday season. So I get it. Probably at the moment, it was like, all right, this is kind of the path of least resistance. Let me shoot for this path.
Yeah, at this point, we kind of just are done for right now.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, we have a great relationship with our realtor. She sold 3 other houses.
You see, that's where we need to work, is not the time of year, but working our way into that second opinion, because her issue, well, our only opportunity here is trying to go that second opinion route. But let's see what you do here.
For this year. So
yeah,
we just missed the market with this one.
Yeah, totally makes sense now. I mean, we're still selling homes. I guess just wondering if you wouldn't be totally opposed to me sending you an email with a little bit about what we do, and if it doesn't make sense, no big deal. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer and see where it might go. Does that be fair?
You're welcome to send me an email.
Okay, good. So you're staying in the pocket, right? You're like, man, but you're still kind of beating around the bush, right? This is a great example, Felipe, of what I would call twisting somebody's arm to generate what one might call a lead, but I still would not call this a lead. I don't see or hear or feel the opportunity. We're saying the minimal possible to twist her arm into being agreeable, where there's not a lot of interest yet. Like, we haven't generated a real opportunity, and we're trying to force something right now.
All right, so Cindy, here's what I'll do. Like I said, my name is Felipe Benavides. I work with a company called Harcourts here in Dana Point. I'll send you the email with a little bit about what we do, some results that we've gotten, and I'll also send you a text message with my contact information for my direct line. And look, you've probably been getting bombarded with calls.
Like, right? So she's trying to butt in. She's like, dude, again, she's giving you all the evidence that she isn't a lead for you. She's just being polite. So just be careful of getting what we call happy ears, because you got somebody to have a conversation with you doesn't mean that they're an opportunity, doesn't mean that they should go into the database. We shouldn't force it. And I know sometimes when you're prospecting for 2-3 hours and you haven't had a lot of great conversations, if you find somebody to talk to, it's like, wow, I just have to seize this opportunity. So I get that, but let's make sure we don't force leads that aren't real opportunities.
Yeah. You're in Dana Point?
Yeah.
Correct?
Monarch Beach, yeah.
Have you shown our house to anybody? It was on the market for 3 months. Did you have any customers you showed the house to?
All right. Another objection. Okay. So we fight to live another day. The call's still going. Now we have another opportunity. So let's see what you do with it.
No, you know what? To be completely honest, Cynthia, I specialize in representing sellers. And when properties come across my desk like yours that didn't sell over in that area, I'm just surprised that it didn't sell, just because it's such a desirable location. So what I do is try to reach out to you and see if there's anything that we can do to help you sell it, if you wanted to. I mean, sometimes it's such a great location that people say, look, I just rather not sell it, I'd rather keep.
Okay. I mean, the better way to handle that objection is like, hey, did you show it when it was on the market? I know the angle. Again, the angle that you're going towards, I don't totally hate. I specialize in working with sellers. Great. Why does that specifically matter to this prospect? So where I would have liked you to go was, I specialize in sellers specifically, which means I only focus on selling the listings that I have. So what a lot of agents do is they'll list a home and hope that another agent brings the buyer. I only focus on selling the listings that I take, which is the reason why I'm calling. Because it sounds as though your agent maybe didn't show the property as much as you'd had liked them, or that your agent wasn't the one showing the property. Is that what I'm hearing? Well, now we've uncovered something with the seller, because the seller says, that's interesting. Yeah, my agent didn't show it either. And that's the value proposition that you're angling. That's what you're positioning for. So that could be another bridge potentially that might lead us to an appointment.
Subject line, it'll have the address 29212 Ridgeview. And
Okay, all right.
yeah.
Okay, and then she essentially hangs up. So, you know, the feedback that I would have for you is that was probably, I mean, where you were trying to go with the call and all of that, I thought was pretty good. I gave you some feedback on where I would have liked to see you go with that call, but more specifically, that's probably a great example of forcing a lead, you doing some work and sending the email and following up. That would be a great example of a forced lead. There is no opportunity because the prospect did not agree that they are open to interviewing you or meeting with you. Quite the opposite. It was all the reasons why they're not interested in talking with you or meeting with you. Because then what ends up happening, I know you and I have had these conversations before too, is that you put that person in your follow-up, and then you follow up with them for a couple of weeks. They end up relisting with the other agent. Then you ask me, well, Brandon, what could I have done differently? What did I do wrong? And what you did wrong was you're following up with a prospect, not a lead. And so that person should have never gotten into the database, would have been my feedback, because that is an example of a forced lead where you twisted her arm. You found a person that was really polite. Most of the time, as you know, you wouldn't have gotten that far. They would have shut you down. But because she was being polite, she was like, sure, you can send me an email. Sure. Let me get off this phone. But there really wasn't any big opportunity. There wasn't an opportunity for you there to follow up.